Welcome to the Greeting Mashiach podcast. I am your co-host Simcha Fish, and this is my co-host and author of a new book, Levi Palchenko.
Wow.
So we apologize for the brief hiatus, but we're back and better than ever before. Bringing Mashiach, greeting Mashiach, and Levi, I hear you put out a new book. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it? What's it called?
So I
Wh-
did put out a
wh-
book.
how many volumes should people buy? How many orders should we put in?
As many as you can to give to your friends, to give to your family, to make sure it goes everywhere, goes viral. So the book is available on Amazon.
We're just gonna title this episode 42, shameless plug. All
Yeah, go buy the book.
right.
By buying the book, you're supporting this podcast. You're supporting the me. You're supporting everybody. And also, in addition to that, you are hopefully the point of the book is to give perspective, give words, zoom out and see the way the world has been, the trajectory, the way the world is going on, and where we are in the greater history of the world, as it relates to the coming of Mashiach and the ultimate redemption from this bitter gullus. You want me to talk about the book?
Yeah, let's give a little bit of expression. If you say as the vague terms, what is the general theme of what is your book trying to convey? Which feeling is your book coming here to tell us
So,
about?
so the feeling the book is trying to come is like this. Um, there, there is a certain, it's one of the 13 attributes of the fundamentals of faith that the Rambam speaks about, that each person has an obligation to believe that in the coming of Mashiach every single day, and if though he may tarry, we still await his coming. Being that it's a fundamental belief, what happens when belief wavers, or when things happen, things occur in the world that might, shake that faith and belief. So Jews hold strong and they strengthen each other. They sit together and they talk to each other. And in our current world, it is expressed through the influencers and through the people that have shiurim and they give speeches to the masses. And they strengthen the people in their belief in the coming of Mashiach by speaking about the different prophecies and the different explanations about what the time before Mashiach, right before Mashiach comes, looks like. And thank God, I'm going to say thank God for the good and the bad. I'm not going to say exactly what this is, but it says before Mashiach comes, there are going to be some bad things in the world. And because of that, whenever there are bad things, we point and we say, look, Mashiach is so close.
Famously, during Sfira we learn Masechta Saita, and at the end of Masechta Saita we learn a daf every day. At the end of the Masechta, it goes through all the signs of what's going to be the Ikvus of the Mashiach, the heels, the footsteps right before Mashiach, the heels, the very end, right before Mashiach. What's the world going to be like? And it ain't pretty, let's just say.
Yeah.
And all the
So
signs become more and more apparent. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two big things that stand out. Number one is the war of Gog and Magog, and it's discussed in length whether that's going to manifest itself, whether it's just if it's at its time, it's not its time, whatever. And then there's the other one called the birth pangs of Mashiach, famously dubbed Chevle Mashiach. So because there's this belief, and because every single time something bad happens in the world, where some might have a shaky faith. So this is what we say. And at some point, I realized recently that if you keep saying this, at some point, you're going to get burnt out because, how many times can we be so close? How many times can it be on the doorstep? How many doorsteps are there? How many heels?
If maybe it's a very calloused heel, there's a lot of layers. I remember I think we spoke about it once. that the Rebbe says that we finished Chevle Mashiach. The Rebbe says, someone asks if something could be Chevle by dollars, if something could be Chevle Mashiach, and the Rebbe says we've certainly already.
The guy asked the Rebbe.
What was it? Yeah.
He said you wrote. Someone wrote to you, and you said that Chevle Mashiach Tamu, that it's finished. So he said. So the guy that is by dollars asked the Rebbe if it's real or something like that. If it's true, if it's reality or something like that, and the Rebbe said it is reality. That Chevle Mashiach is over.
And Zebul Rebbe said he got a fax from you that Chevle Mashiach Tamu. He says he wants to know that it's by feeling also, not just on paper.
Yeah, it is not only a feeling; it is a reality.
So there you have it.
Yeah. So I'll go with an anecdote that my wife was telling me about. That in COVID, it was a very big thing that everybody was at home. It was almost like the first Pesach that everybody equally was at home. Even the people that glorified going to Pesach programs.
I just have to make a short ha'ara because you're my brother-in-law. And I was davening Shachris today. I saw somebody's phone, a friend of mine, and his wife called. How do I know his wife called? He wasn't by his phone at the moment. He walked away. But I saw his phone was calling, and the tag on the phone said, "My dear wife." So when he came back, I told him, "My dear wife called." I said, "What happened? You forgot her name?" Anyways, and I'm a gabbai on Shabbos. I say Mishaberach. So the minig by uns is we say when you give the second Mishaberach, we say Ishtei Hayikara. You know.
Nice.
Anyways, your dear wife was
yes, my dear wife was recounting how so what were again, it was a time where there was a global shift, and again it's a natural instinct for Jews to do this, and they said that look at here, we're so Mashiach must be coming, this and that and the other, the world is shifting. And I think there was a Zohar that was previously dug up, that was newly dug up, that was saying how right before Mashiach comes, there's going to be a plague, something like that. But the point is that Mashiach Seudah, I know personally myself also, it was a time where, already for the entire history, the light of Mashiach is shining extra strong This
is the Mashiach Seudah just recently or previously?
No, by COVID.
Oh, during COVID, okay.
During COVID. And so my dear wife was telling me that when they made Havdalah and basically ending the Yom Tov of Pesach and ending the Mashiach Seudah, she said that was the biggest down she had in her entire life. Because it was so hopeful. It was so like, oh my gosh, this is it. Not only is the entire world shifted, the entire world is spending time with their families at home and spending time together outside of everybody else. And this is Mashiach Seudah. This is like the peak of the concept of redemption in the month of redemption in the year 2020 and all these different things. And yet, it didn't happen. And she said that it was like when you go on a roller coaster and it's like you're at the top and then all the way down.
That's why I don't go on roller coasters. I avoid the problem. I avoid.
Yeah. So then I decided, I felt like there must be something else. And then with October 7th, there was like similar thing. And what was amazing was in October 7th, they were talking about the Yalkut Shemaini, a midrash that said that the year the Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be a war waged by nations, and this and that and the other, and Hashem is going to tell the Jews, do not be afraid, everything I did is for you, the time of your redemption has arrived, the Mashiach is going to be standing on the Gag Beis HaMikdash, and the famous songs written from those words. And it took me back to 33 years ago at this point, 34 years ago, whoa. 34 years ago, Tafshin Nun Aleph, 1990, was the Gulf War, and the Rebbe and a Chassid had posted
the Gulf of America. This was.
I think the Gulf is going to be renamed again. I think whatever.
The Persian Gulf.
The Persian Gulf.
The Persian Gulf.
No, to the Arabian Gulf or something like that.
Arabian Gulf.
The point is that a Chassid that Sukkot had posted this Yalkut Shemaini on the wall in 770. And from that moment on, from the following Farbrengen, the Rebbe started speaking about this Yalkut Shemaini and saying this is the year Mashiach is going to come, and he connected it to the Rashi Tevis of that year, Tehei Shnas Niflois Arenu Niflois. We will see wonders, and this was the year. That was the year, and the Rebbe was pointing to this midrash and saying that, connecting it to that, and I said, okay, the people that are doing it now, they are doing, like I said in the beginning, it's a natural reaction of every Jew is to strengthen their emunah by looking and seeing and looking at signs and putting things together to make things make sense. But the Rebbe, who is Ish Alekim, Menasi Adar, Atzmas Mahuz, Munabish Baguf, is a godly man and a Navi, a prophet, and all of these many various things. It's not a thing for the Rebbe to make things up. He's not just pointing to things and making connections just as a natural reaction. Rather, the Rebbe actually sees something. The Rebbe is looking at the world, and based on the perspective, based on what he sees, the Rebbe tells us in various times what's going on.
The song says, like in the camp song.
Yeah.
He would not give us false hopes, and he would not tell us lies. My father doesn't like those lyrics because, why would you have a Havamina that would do such a thing? Yeah. And he would not tell the future if he hadn't seen it with his eyes. But that expresses the idea at this point. The Rebbe literally saw it as just like you can see something with your physical eyes. You see it, you know it happened. When the Rebbe spoke of these things, these were things the Rebbe saw. He wasn't, or if the Rebbe told us something already happened, something was told us something is happening. This is it's for real. Much more real than the things you see with your eye.
Correct. So there is a difference between when the Rebbe says something is going to happen and when the Rebbe says something happened. Because something is going to happen, not necessarily does it manifest itself in our physical world. It can be things that are bekoyach, that are there potentially, and we can, through our thick heads and like the Rebbe says, akshanos, muzaris, how would you translate that? The strange stiffness of the strange stubbornness of the Jews, that potential can be lost. So things the Rebbe says that
the famous
could
example
happen.
Of the Alter Rebbe gave Kate when the Mashiach going to come.
Correct.
And that Kate came and went, and the Rebbe Marash, I think, complained to the Samach Tzedek, maybe Marash.
Yeah.
I think complained to his father, the Samach Tzedek. What happened to the Kate? And he said, we printed the Kutei Torah. What do you mean? That's Mashiach. And he obviously answered, you wanted to L'mata Masar Tzvacha. But you see, that's how it was...
Correct. The point is that, right, and every single Kate, something happened, but it didn't end up fully materializing. So, but, on the other hand, when the Rebbe says something happened already, then it means that it already happened. It's not a potential that was lost. Rather, it was something that potential that materialized. So, I felt that if the Rebbe said that 34 years ago, and we're saying that now, it must be that we are holding in a different time now, and this Yalkut Shemaini means something different now. So I went deeper, and I was listening to a shir given by Rabbi Wolf, and he says how he goes through the cosmic week. And my uncle Tzvi Freeman has a whole presentation on this in Chabad.org. The link is going to be in the description, but I suggest everybody go and listen to his presentation about the Cosmic Week. And it basically maps out the entire history of the world, and it splits it up into 6 millennium. Each 1,000 years, each millennium.
So every day is an epoch, basically.
Correct. Every day is a millennium. Is an epoch. Yes, epoch.
Or
and
epic.
So, and the Gemara splits it up into three parts of 2. There is the Beis Alafim, 2,000 years of Tohu, chaos, 2,000 years of Torah, and 2,000 years of Yemaisa Mashiach. So, focusing on the 2,000 years of Yemaisa Mashiach, it starts about the time when the second Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, and that is the time where it says the day after Mashiach, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Mashiach was born. The concept of Mashiach, both the physical person and the concept of the ultimate Redeemer, potentially in the world every single generation. That's when it started. So the last 2,000 years is when Mashiach's potential to come. Yemais Mashiach, the days where Mashiach can be realized, the potential. And then within the last 2,000 years themselves, there's the Thursday and then there's Friday. So the Zohar splits each 1,000 years in half, 500 years and 500 years. So the first 500 years, like in holiness, the day starts from the night before, from Shkia. So the first 500 years starts from the night and goes till dawn. And the second 500 years goes from dawn and goes till Shkia, till the time of sunset. And basically, to make a long story short, Tafshin Nun, 1990, was the Chatzos Hayom, the midday on Friday. And what happens on Chatzos? On Chatzos, we stop saying Tachnun because it's already, we have the energy of Shabbos is in the world, and people that even in the morning, on Friday morning, would go to work regularly, Chatzos is when everything starts shutting down and everybody starts preparing for Shabbos itself. And going to the world, what happens in the world? The world starts preparing for Shabbos. And who is the one that prepares the world for the ultimate coming of the redemption is Mashiach. And so it fits perfectly the fact that the Rebbe was talking, that this Yalkut Shemini started in Tafshin Nun. Why? Because if Tafshin Nun, if Mashiach is supposed to come to prepare the world for Shabbos, it would make sense that it comes on Chatzos, which is Tafshin Nun. And so that's why the year, the Shana Shemelech HaMashiach Nigla, by the year that Mashiach is going to be revealed, started the war to preempt the revelation of Mashiach started in Tafshin Nun. And go on, so on and so forth. And we see, like anybody that has been listening to this podcast, knows the progression of the sichas of what happened. Kayach Nisan, the Rebbe voices frustration that this is the year that it's supposed to happen, and yet it's not happening. And then the Chassidim went on overdrive and finally fulfilled, to a certain extent, what was supposed to happen. And it went on, and it what's the word? It reached its peak. Chav Zayin Adar, something happened that the Rebbe had a stroke, and after Chav Zayin Adar started the period of concealment. Now, it wasn't a period of concealment complete. It wasn't a complete concealment, being that we still saw the Rebbe, and the Rebbe was still motioning, using his head and his hands to motion, but there was a concealment in speech, and it continued and it got worse and worse, and it progressed until we reached Gimel Tammuz, where there was not only a concealment in speech, but there was also concealment in our in sight and also in presence. But Mashiach is still there, very much there. So the point that I'm trying to get to is that all of this is to give us a perspective on how we view the world now. And the way we view the world now should be, at least based on my understanding of the Rebbe Siches, that right now everything that is happening is a Peulas Shemelech HaMashiach, is an effect of Mashiach, and also it is a Geula event, meaning that it is of the redemption. It is part of the redemption process, meaning that we don't have the full redemption. We don't have the Geula Amitis V'Ashlema the way it is with the Beis HaMikdash and the Kibbutz Goliath and all these different things, but it is still part of the redemption process. For example, the 10 Makkos were not the redemption. It wasn't when the Jews were actually redeemed. The Jews were actually redeemed much later, a few months later, and even then it was still after Kriyas Yam Suf until they got to Torah. That's when the full manifestation, the full realization of the Geulas Mitzrayim was realized in the world, was by the Matan Torah, by the giving of the Torah. But throughout that time, from when Moshe Rabbeinu came on the scene and told the Jews that Hashem remembers you and I'm coming to take you out, every single thing that happened until Matan Torah was part of the redemption process. So the point is to shift our perspective and to see everything as part of the Geula process unfolding in front of our eyes. And it's called Open Our Eyes because that's what the Rebbe says that we should do. We should see how it's already in front of us, and yeah.
So we're opening our eyes,
L'chaim.
and we're going to learn and see how actually what's going on around us is actually the Rebbe influencing the world. Mashiach is affecting the world. We can see the Gul unfolding in front of us if we look and put on our glasses to see, instead of looking at the negative, instead of saying how, so often you go to somebody, you say, oh, Mashiach's coming, you try to inspire them, and you say, and they don't even, like the pasuk says, Lo shamal Moshe, they didn't listen to Moshe, Mikaitzi Ruach, when you have the kasha from shortness of breath and hard labor. They're so busy to say, what are you talking about Mashiach coming? Mashiach being here, open your eyes. What are you saying? Do you have any idea what's happening today? What we're busy with October 7th, with the Yidden? This is Mashiach. If this is Mashiach, I don't want it. People say, how could, what are you talking about? And they don't have the time or the emotional space for the subtlety of trying to understand and take apart. No, there's different concepts here. You have to see how it is. Like, they said, what do you mean? We're a bit regalos. What are you talking about? But this is the job that Rebbe gave us, that we need to, like the Rebbe told us, Chav Chasivan, Tavshnan Aleph, a Yid darf maskem sein. Yid must agree, and he must consent, he must agree. And Nishna Dem Vildas, he has to want it. On Machris, he has to announce it, that not only is the time for our redemption arrived, but you already have the Golem Mitzvah Shlema, which means that it's here, it's present, it's here if we want it. The Rebbe expressed once that the whole Gul is in a box. And we're given the box with the key. We have it, but you could bring a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. Anyways, but no, that's really the part. Yeah.
IYK.
And we're IYK. Maybe some people are hoping that maybe the flavor of the month is now that we could bring a horse to the water. You can also make it drink. Some people are hoping that maybe you could, and as well you will have the gula without having to put into work. But what the Rebbe told us is that we have to put in the work. Obviously, the Rebbe should give us the gula. There's nothing to talk about. The Rebbe should, according to the Torah, according to the rules, you should bring the gula mitzvah shlema. But what we got to do is we got to do the work. We have to drink the water. We have to open the box. We have the key. The key is looking at the world guladik. The key is to greet the Rebbe as Melech HaMashiach. These are the keys the Rebbe gave us. And So I'll also say that if you do get the book, there's a surprise waiting for you at the end. I highly recommend. We won't. If you buy the book, you'll see.
Yeah.
That's as far as that's concerned. So this week is I just reminded myself a story that happened over Pesach. So over Pesach, I was home. I was in LA. And there was a discussion on one of the Chabad WhatsApp groups with a lot of people. There's like 900 people on it. So there was some Mashiach discussion. Somebody wanted to know, how much of the Gula process already happened. What did the Rebbe say about it? What do we know for a fact? So I said the things that the Rebbe told us already happened. For a fact. And one of the things I mentioned was that the Eibishter revealed himself to Mashiach and told him that that they gave him the job, take a set of goals. One of the things that I mentioned, the Rebbe says this, and a shliach PMs me, a respected older shliach, well respected, and he says, if I understood you correctly, you said kach v'kach, that you said the Eibishter revealed himself to the Rebbe and said he's Mashiach. What are you talking about? I said, absolutely, yeah. He says, there's no such. I said, I said it's a sicha. He said, there's no such sicha. It doesn't exist. Okay. So I told him, the famous sicha. Of course he knew the sicha, basics. And I showed him. He says, it doesn't say. So I showed him where it says it. The Rebbe says, we've discussed it many times, that Rebbe brings from the Chassam Sefer, the Barbanel, that in every generation there's somebody who could be Mashiach. He's righteous enough that he could be. When the time comes, Hashem will reveal himself to him and send him. Says the Rebbe, now we have the testimony of the Nasi Adar, that now generation we finished Avodah and there's nothing holding it back. And therefore this is being fulfilled. And now it's beginning the Shlichus of Mashiach. Now it's starting to become fulfilled. The Shlichus of Mashiach, take a set of Golas. And the Rebbe says, who we're talking about? There's only one person we're talking about. He's the only candidate now generation, the only shliach, the only Mashiach of our generation, and that's the Nasi Adar, the Friedrich Rebbe. And now he's given the job, take us out of Galus, So it's very clear. So I showed it to him, he goes, So then that's what it says. So then he says, "Oh, Anastasis Hashem Elokeinu." We don't know what it means. We don't know what the sichos mean. First it didn't say it. Then it became that it does say it. Anastasis Hashem Elokeinu, which is so famously Rabbi Yoel's line. And we have a whole episode about that called "Did We Make a Mistake?" If you'd like more clarity on what my opinion about that is, saying that everything is Anastasis Hashem Elokeinu. But it was very interesting. Then afterwards, he was like, "Okay, but did the Rebbe literally say that Hashem revealed himself to me? And did he say, 'I am Mashiach'?" No, he didn't say those words. I said, "Maskim, fine." He didn't say those words, But he said, I told him, I've never heard a different explanation of the Sikha. And he was maskim, right? There's no other explanation of the Sikha. There's nobody else who can give a different explanation of what the Sikhas mean. The only other option is putting the Sikha on the shelf and avoiding it and not thinking about it too much because you don't understand it or you choose not to. And I said, there are perhaps some things you can say that about. And instead of Hashem Elokeinu, I don't understand them. Okay, say that. You don't have to understand everything. But not the Sikha. Of all the Sikhas that I've ever said, this is the one that you top of the list of Sikhas you're not allowed to ignore. Because the Rebbe was instructing. This was a Sikha of instruction to the Shluchim of the new Shlichas, of what it's all about, of what to do. The Rebbe says, go out with a memo to all the Shluchim that we're changing up the game over here. We have a new Shlichas now. Kabul, or a new Shlav of the Shlichas. Kabul T'fnei Mashiach Tzedekenu. This is what everything's all about. So you can't afford to put the Sikha on the shelf. You must figure out what the Sikha means. It isn't. If you don't know, then drop what you're doing and ask people and figure it out. You do not have the luxury of not knowing what the Sikha means. Then how do you go on doing your shlichas? Yeah, he said, we do what we know. We do what we do what we always did. But the Rebbe was saying, change up what you always did. That's what it says. And he didn't have another explanation. His point was only that the Rebbe didn't say the words "I am Mashiach," and the Rebbe didn't say the words that God revealed Himself to me. It's like, but you're playing a word game over here, because the Rebbe says that. That's. Something similar happened. We'll get to it in a few minutes about the Sikha of Tazir Metzorah, another similar experience I had. So this is a prevalent issue. So let's talk a little bit about the Sikha. So Kayach Nishan obviously. Yeah.
But I'm saying before you get there, it's very interesting that people are trying to divorce the discussion of Mashiach from the Sikhas, because you can't understand the Sikhas. But what's so crazy is that what do you mean? What do you mean divorce? The whole reason as to why we are where we are now is because is from those Sikhas. The Rebbe is telling us that we are in a different matzav, we are in a different situation, we are holding in a different place from when we were holding 100 years ago. Like you said, you can't afford that. You can't afford to ignore the Sikhas. It's not right for yourself. It's not right for the world.
Yeah, the 8th day lyric. You can put my album on the shelf to rot. Just give it all you got. It's like maybe you can do that with an 8th day album.
Correct. You can't do that with the Sikhas.
You can't say the same thing with the Rebbe Sikhas. You can put the Sikha on the shelf. Just give it all you got. I heard a shliach discussing on a podcast recently that he doesn't have any. He's not on any WhatsApp groups. He doesn't get involved in anything. He doesn't care what's going on with everybody else. He's doing his shlichus, dealing with his chavra, and Hatish Katzait to deal with any of this. So that's very good. So that actually, I don't do that, but I respect that tremendously. Like, somebody could do that. Takan, he's piling pull. He's not getting distracted by things that are, solving all the world's problems, as it were, on WhatsApp. Say there, but you can't. But the Rebbe Sikha is like, no, that you actually do have to figure it out, and it might take WhatsApp groups. I don't know, whatever it is, but figure it out.
That you have to figure out.
Unless you have a clarity. If you yourself say, I do not have a clarity, you can't be okay with that. You can't say, we'll just give it all I got, I'll do. No, what is shlichus? It's not the same thing it was in Tav Shinun. It's a different thing. It's not the same thing it was in Tav Shechav. That is telling you it's not the same thing. And if you can't tell, whatever. It's important. And too often people drop the ball before they get involved because they're scared of having the whole conversation and thinking about it. But you gotta dive in. You have to not be scared of having the discussion, thinking about it. It's necessary. Anyways, so Chavchas Nisan, the Rebbe drops this bomb shal sicha of tutat was erkent. Everything I did was ineffective. to some extent because we're still in Galus, so people still don't care about Mashiach. That means I'm trying to get you guys to care about Mashiach. You don't care. I don't know what else to do to make you guys care about Mashiach because it hasn't been working until now. So do everything you can to bring Mashiach. Make it happen. You're going to need 10 akshanim that can actually, they have to be stubborn, here's in a good way. They'll be stubborn, that means they'll actually care about it enough to convince the Eibusher to bring Mashiach. Or we have 3 people come up with ideas, how to do it, what to do. Figure it out, get to work. Okay. And after that kind of began a series of sikhs that we call the Val Malchus. Where that basically gives instructions on how to bring the Geula. So if you're wondering why we care so much about these sikhs and Alf and Beis, it's because they're literally the Shulchan Aruch on how to bring Mashiach. This is the Rebbe, after saying the Sikha, the Rebbe telling us what it is that we should do, and keeping us posted and updated. It's our job. We have to do the work. But we've moved on. Where there was a point when we were in Galus and doing Torah mitzvahs, and eventually Mashiach would come. And even if we're working towards that goal, that's a eventual goal, but it's not the direct thing we're focused on right now. We're focused on putting on tefillin. That will bring Mashiach. That will perfect the world, which in turn, and it could be even have a mind. It's in Shemesah, but what are you doing? I'm not bringing Mashiach. I'm doing mitzvahs. I'm doing shlim. It never turned the focus and the spotlight on, what do we do? We're bringing Mashiach. That's what we're doing right now. Like, we're putting all of our energy. That was what I was saying. We are focusing all of our energy, and we need to bring Mashiach. We're not going to keep doing Torah mitzvahs and it'll happen whenever. No. This is what we're focused on, solely. Bringing Mashiach. That's the goal. That's front and center. I was learning Gemara today, and it's like, Gemara says if you scare an Eved, he's Shem V'regel. Eved goes free, but Shem V'regel. If you knock out his tooth, or Eved Kanani, you knock a Canaanite slave, you knock out his tooth or his ear, or a tooth or his eye, he goes free. This applies to all the rest of his limbs. So if you like smash his ear and he goes deaf, he goes free. Oh, sure. What if you just scream, you bang the wall or something, and then he gets frightened, then he gets deaf? Is that okay? Says the Gemara, no. You didn't make him deaf. She says the Gemara, what happened was, him being an intelligent person, if he would have been an animal, he wouldn't have gone deaf. Because he's a person with instincts and a brain, his brain got scared when you screamed, and because of the shock that he himself induced, he became deaf. So you actually you didn't make him deaf. You screamed, he got scared, and his scaredness, his brain made it whatever, some process that made him go deaf. Now, you might very well say, I made you deaf, but like Gemara's like, no, technically you didn't. What's my point? What's my point here? Which I found to be just shocking. I just wanted to share that because it's crazy as an interesting Gemara. But what's my point here? It's like, no, we're doing mitzvahs, we're doing shlichus, bring Mashiach. It's like, no. We're bringing Mashiach. No intermediary steps. We're bringing Mashiach. That's the activity. If you get the analogy kind of there. Anyways, yeah.
I got it.
You got it? Yeah. I just wanted an excuse to share that. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
If anyone has insights on how that works, please let me know. The explanation on that Gemara. Anyways, so then that's why we're focused so much on these sikhs and alf the base. So the Rebbe begins with a discussion of the Tazir Metzorah, and the Rebbe has a lot of questions about why is the Parshat Tazir called Tazir means birth, and it's all about Saras, which is like the opposite of birth. And Metzorah is all about getting healed, and it's called Metzorah. And basically, the Rebbe explains you have to change your perspective on what Mashiach is all about. Mashiach is called a Metzorah. He's called the Chivri de Rebbe. He's the white person, the leper, the Metzorah from the house of Rebbe. Because Saras is really only on the edge. It's the external part of a person. It's on his skin. It's a person who's already perfected, except for the very outside of him. That's Mashiach. Mashiach is coming to reveal this deepest levels of godliness. And when a teacher wants to reveal he wants to reveal something very deep. Before we can reveal it, he has to go back and retract into himself and think how we could convey this, come up with a way to convey it to a student. And while he's doing that, to the student, it might appear the teacher is distant from him because the teacher is not engaged. But really, that's just in order so that he can actually reveal and convey it to the student. And the same thing happens with Mashiach. When Mashiach is born, the Tazriya, the birth of Mashiach, that actually creates the taras. That creates this distance, but it's only external. Internally, really, it's Hashem trying to make the revelation of Mashiach into the world. But that is perceived externally as Galus. And that's what the whole Galus is. Galus is a symptom of Mashiach being born. How about that? That's what the Rebbe explains. It changes your whole perspective on Galus. And says the Rebbe, where all of Klal Yisrael is now holding at the period where this level of Mashiach, of Metzorah, of where we're all, the whole Avodah of the Yidden is finished on a whole, and it's only our outside. It's only that last little layer, that skin, that has only the outer Chitzoni stick, I think that still needs to be fixed. But basically we're done the Avodah. That was what the Rebbe was being Mechabit, the Rebbe was saying. And the Rebbe says, so what do we do? What is the Derech Kalav Yishar, the Derech Batz and Pirkei Avos? Ezei Derech Yishar, what is the straight way Sheyover Le'adam that a person should choose? Rebbe says, Kol Shit Teferes Leisev, it's Teferes Le'men Adon. It's Teferes. Good for you, good for people. You have a good name, you're popular,
People like you.
Does it, and people like you. That's what it means. But the Rebbe said, so what is this easy way that we could choose, the shortest, easiest, straightest way to bring Mashiach, to fix this final outer external problem, to hit it home? Because basically we're done. All the big things, rectifying the whole world, we did already. That's not the issue. And the Rebbe says it's Malchus of Teferes, which is the idea that I've explained. That's this idea of Teferes, of Torah, and particularly Torah's Teferes, and particularly Malchus of Teferes. What is that? That's
Mashiach.
The Torah that talks about Mashiach, that talks about Malchus. Malchus is Mashiach. Mashiach is a king. The Torah that discusses Melech HaMashiach. And the Rebbe says there, the Torah that this is, you learn in Torah and in Tanakh where it talks about Mashiach, and you look in the Zohars that talk about Mashiach, and specifically Chassidus that talks about Mashiach, and in particular says that by the Torah of the Chassidus in general is the precursor to the Torah of Mashiach, Torah Chadashim Tetzi, and particular says that in the Ma'amarim Lekut Sichas of Nesiderenu, which was bombshell line in the Sicha. The Rebbe says the Lekut Sichas of Nesiderenu. The Rebbe is the only one to say for the Lekut Sichas. There are some people who try to interpret it. It's talking about Lekut Deborim or something, but Tavshin Onalef, that I was printing this about the Lekut Sichas. I mean, come on, The Rebbe knows how this is being interpreted. The Rebbe is the one with the Sefer Lekut Sichas. The Rebbe referring to himself as the Siderenu, which is something the Rebbe doesn't usually do. The Rebbe saying learn his Sichas and Mamarim that are about
Mashiach.
Now and the Rebbe says it's a little bit easy to find in all these places in Tanakh and the Zohar and where you can find the Midrash, where you can find about Mashiach, because today there's a lot of you have books that tell you. It says that it was split up by Aleph Beis.
Appendix.
It'll tell you where it talks about Mashiach.
Is that appendix?
I don't know something. I once heard a shir from somebody, a well-respected person in Lubavitch, in the world, speaker. He says it's not a word search. He was talking about this part of the Sikha. I think it's a word search wherever it says the word Mashiach. Like that's what you have to learn. No, and I heard from somebody else also, a friend of mine, something similar. It means learning the whole Chassidus. That's what it means. It means learning the whole Chassidus is Mashiach. But those people are incorrect. That's not what it says in the Sikha. If anybody knows how to read Hebrew, the Rebbe is telling you that it is a word search, and you should find all the words where it says and discusses the idea of Mashiach, and you should learn those things. It is a spiritual idea of Malchus Shabbat Teferes, fixing up the Torah as to do with Mashiach. Learn those things. And that will affect. It is purely a spiritual thing. Now, in a few weeks later, the Rebbe said, in addition to the spiritual thing we spoke about, there's another thing that learning about Mashiach is obviously a very good idea, and it will make you open your eyes and make you open your heart to Mashiach and
to live a certain way.
And it's very it makes sense. But here the Rebbe is just it's a spiritual thing. And this is how it's important learning Torah about Mashiach. So obviously, first and foremost, that's what we discuss here. It's about learning Torah of Mashiach. That's very important. That's what we try to do and encourage, especially the Lekut Sichas of Nesiderenu, the Amarim and the Sichas of the Rebbe. But it was so strange that specifically the Rebbe Sichas about Mashiach should be very important to bring Mashiach. Obviously, it's because the Rebbe is Mashiach and it's the Torah of Mashiach. That's obviously why it's so important. Another just clear, obvious thing. Another one of these things that if the Rebbe is Mashiach and that's important, it just makes so much more sense. You're trying to convince someone that the Rebbe is, you should learn that if the Rebbe is Mashiach, of course you have to learn the Rebbe's Torah. If the Rebbe is not Mashiach, then why should you? It's less. If the Rebbe is Mashiach, of course you have to learn the Rebbe's Torah. Makes so much sense. Anyways, there is a ha'ara in this sikha that's mind-boggling. The Rebbe says that a footnote. Yeah, the Rebbe says that this Gemara Sanhedrin says that the different students, that each one said about their teacher, that their teacher is Mashiach. The Yana Yomer, Yana Shmai, different. Each one said, and the Gemara says Yeshem Menachem ben Chizkiya Shmai, Menachem Shmai. And the Rebbe brings this Gemara relatively often. And the Rebbe says in the Hara here that Rashi, there's a higher to point out Mediak from what you inferred. If you look carefully, what Rashi says, that each one would make a drasha,
would expound
an exegesis after his own name. I had a friend who said that, who once told me that's not how you pronounce that word. So I told him it is. We looked it up together in the dictionary. That's how you pronounce it.
That's how you pronounce it. All right.
And no, the story gets better. I was learning with him today, and I came across this word again. So, and say that. So then, also today, somebody you posted some shorts today about from our episode with
Feldman,
Rachel and David Feldman, which are some good shorts, very geschmack, and some people asked for, which episode is this? So I reposted the episode. Now I have on the podcast, some of them are the podcast that's just the audio, some is the video. I wanted to post the link that has the video. So after I posted on WhatsApp, I clicked it to check that it's the one with the video. So I went to the middle of the video just to check, like to see, like, is it just the audio or is it the video? And I opened up just to the second where I heard myself saying the word exegesis.
That's us.
This happened just today. I tell you, true story.
You're saying that is a confirmation that is how you pronounce the word 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the plural is exegeses, in case anyone's wondering, if you ever want to say it. Yeah.
Anyways.
All right.
So Rashi says.
Back to. So Rashi says each one would make this drasha. That's the on. It was the teacher who said it. Says the Rebbe. It's not that the students were the ones who invented it, that it's their teacher. No, the teacher was the one who actually made, because each one had a drasha at a pasuk. Each one proved from a pasuk that it's his name, that's Mashiach. Says the Rebbe was the teacher who did it. Then the Rebbe goes on to say that Mashiach's name is Menachem. In the very next sentence, literally the next line. And the Rebbe even has another footnote there, as a little discussion about it. About it's supposed to be Menachem, it's meant to be Menachem, the son of Chizkiah, but the Girza, the Rebbe has a little drasha, about the name Menachem. And then the Rebbe goes on to say, Va'anan Chsidim, and we Chsidim, Nan Abasrayu, we follow in the same path. We too say about our Rebbe that he's Mashiach. So if anybody wondering, like, should we care or say that our Rebbe is Mashiach, direct instructions from the Rebbe. Yes, you should say that your Rebbe is. The Rebbe says, we Chsidim, we do the same thing. We say that our Rebbe is Mashiach. And the Rebbe says, Yesef Shemai and Yitzchak Shemai. The Rebbe proves from a pasuk each one how it relates to Mashiach. Yesef Ad Neshenis Yodei and Yitzchak
Azimali
Yitzchak Pinu. And the Rebbe, yeah, I mean this is, and the Rebbe saying there right there, the Menachem Shemai, in the same thing. The Rebbe, which is not the students, it's the teacher saying it. The Rebbe saying we Chassidim say about our Rebbe in the same sikha where the Rebbe says that he's the Nesidareinu. There's a lot. It's a big deal. Anyways, I have a friend who he tells me that he's the biggest mishches, but he's being a little bit facetious. We'll just say that. Yeah, no, but he's not a mishches. But he's a good friend of mine. And I'm learning this sikha on Shabbos. I'm learning different, but he wasn't like I was learning it. I point this out to him, and he looks at this foot, and he goes, "Bring the Gemara, bring this in header where this Rashi is." So I bring it up, and obviously there's nothing to see there. It's the Rashi. Nothing that you can't tell from the sikha. And I said, like, this is what it means, that the teacher is the one who made the, and he couldn't wrap his head around it, that Rebbe was saying that is the teacher is the one who makes the drasha. And he didn't have a different explanation for me. He was just refused to accept that's what the sikha said. He was just you could refuse to accept it. So later that Shabbos, I encountered a well-respected Alter Chassid, learned, who would know these things, and I asked them about the Sara. Is there perhaps a different way of understanding it? And he was adamant. He was like, he was shocked. Like, no, anybody knows anybody in Hebrew. That's what it says. Yeah, there's no two ways about it. Yeah, that's exactly what it means. The teacher was the one who's mechadej it. Like, yeah. There's no if. What was it? If buts and yeah. That's what it says. What's my point? The sikhs are clear. Everyone pretending like the sikhs aren't clear. It's not true. The sikhs are very clear. We choose to ignore them. We choose to leave them ambiguous. We choose to say Anastasis Hashem Elokeinu. It's a choice. I heard today also a discussion that some people said that we should just. I don't know if I disagree with this person, but he was saying that we should not get lost or caught up or held back by the discussions of 30 years ago and 35 years ago. People were having at a time when the sikhs were coming out. And they're back and forth. We were able to learn the sikhs fresh with our perspective of, just learn the sikhs the way they are now. I agree that you shouldn't be held back from previous things. You should learn the sikhs fresh. But I also think he's discounting a very important idea. Gimel Tam has obviously traumatized everyone, but the way everyone understood the sikhs to mean at the time when it was learned, that counts for something. Everyone understood it to mean that the Rebbe is Mashiach and that it's important and this is happening and the Gula is coming. And that's important to remember. That's important to recall. That before everyone got traumatized, this was the understanding. I think it does help to have the context. So, either way, though, I agree. Learn the sikhs with an open mind. Read them. Don't let previous things. Don't let any preconceived notions hold you down. Don't say, it can't be, which is a running theme. Everyone, it can't be. Maybe it can be. Tot alles was you can. Do everything you can, including learning the sikhs with an open mind. So, what you can do for sure, part of Tot alles was you can is getting this book. Open your eyes on Amazon, read it, live it, experience it. Start opening your eyes, living with Gula and Mashiach, and may the Rebbe take us out of Golos.
Amen.
We want Mashiach now.
ועד כדי כך המדב גולהום der עם soll machli sein, Yeshi המלך.